Let's talk next to Grace Livingstone, lecturer at the Centre of Latin American Studies at the University of Cambridge and the author of America's Backyard, A History of US Intervention in the Region. Grace, welcome. Good to see you. Well, look, you wrote the book. What happens next?
Well, I think it's quite unclear. I mean, just to recap the extraordinary events, the United States has bombed a sovereign country and effectively kidnapped its leader. And I think the governments of Latin American countries, as we heard from your reporter, are really concerned that this might inaugurate a new era of interventionism in Latin America, because the United States does have a long history of intervening militarily or supporting coups or repressive regimes in Latin America. And we've heard President Trump talk about the Monroe Doctrine. This was a doctrine in the 19th century when the President of the United States essentially staked out Latin America as a US sphere of influence. And President Trump is very much reasserting that Monroe Doctrine. This is our backyard, if you like.
What will ordinary Venezuelans make of Maduro's people pretty much remaining in power?
Well, I think there's a lot of concern in Venezuela and uncertainty. I mean, you know, what's ironic about this is in the run-up, the Trump administration and previous US administrations were talking about the lack of democracy. They were talking, you know, claiming that the incumbent government was involved in drugs trafficking. And now they've taken Maduro and they're going to work with the existing government. They haven't removed the existing government. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. Nicolas Maduro is widely believed to have won the last election fraudulently, being an illegitimate leader. He's very unpopular, and now he's gone, but the state government is in place. And I think what explains this is you know, this change of US policy is that basically the military has stayed loyal to the incumbent regime for various reasons. And I mean, it was actually, if you read the Wall Street Journal, you saw that there was a US analysis of what would happen if Maduro left, and they basically thought it would be very unstable if they tried for regime change. And so they've decided to work with this new, well, I say work with this new government, but in the words of House Speaker Mike Johnson, what they're talking about is coercing the new government. You know, Donald Trump says the US is going to run Venezuela. And you have to remember that they're still imposing sanctions and a naval blockade on oil leaving Venezuela. And so the economy is very close to collapse because of this naval blockade, which we have to remember under international law is illegal. It's not backed by the United Nations Security Council. So this is the leverage that the United States has on Venezuela is very, very weak. And for ordinary people, you know, the cost of food is exorbitant. There's hyperinflation, there's shortages, you know, it's very, very serious. And so it appears that the United States wants to sort of pressure or coerce the incumbent government to give US oil companies free reign within Venezuela. They want compensation for some of the US oil companies who had assets expropriated, and they want to sort of push China, Russia and Iran out of Venezuela. These are the objectives of the Trump administration.
Grace, good to talk to you, and thanks so much for your time. Grace Livingstone from University of Cambridge and the author of America's Backyard, A History of US Intervention.